Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange and the host who might be a ghost. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I focus on the strange and unusual literature that I have found in my travels. Today I focus on one of the, who I consider to be the kings of extraordinary stories. That would be, of course, Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. Uh, um, Jules Verne is the author of one of my favorite, top 10 favorite books, Around the World in 80 Days, which is a namesake of this channel, as well as it was my radio show. So I wanted to see if I liked Journey to the Center of the Earth as much as I read Around the World in 80 Days. Did I like it as much? Well, let's find out. Okay. So, Journey to the Center of the Earth is about two main characters. It's about Harry, who is called Axel in the original version. My version was called him Harry. And his uncle, Professor Hardwigg, who is called Lidenbrok in the original version. So it's about those two. Professor Hardwigg, his uncle, Harry's uncle, comes to his house in the middle of the night and says, "I have found something." He shows him some runic text that are difficult to translate, but working together, they're able to translate it into Latin. And they find that a man named Arn Saknusium, if I'm pronouncing that right, and he has led them a trail to Iceland, where they can find a volcano that will take them deep inside the earth. Which Professor Hardwigg is excited about. That means he can go to the center of the earth. It's a new discovery for him. Harry is a little off put by it. It doesn't seem real to him, but he agrees to go along with his uncle because his uncle is just pulling him in that direction. So they head to Iceland. They find the volcano Snorfeljökull. They end up hiring a tour guide named Hans, who is pretty faithful throughout the entire book. Verne is like that. He certainly loves writing servants who are faithful and who save the day in a number of ways. I wonder why that is. Probably look deep into his past and find out. So they head into Snorfeljökull, I believe it's called, the volcano. They end up finding a bunch of caverns and that are covered in coal dust. But they do find some misfortune along the way. Harry almost dies of thirst. Luckily, they are able to find an underwater spring and get water from that. Harry also falls down a hole and almost he gets seriously injured. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a vast cavern that Hardwigg and Hans have taken him to. The cavern has a high degree of wildlife, flora and fauna. There's a vast sea underneath the water, and in the sky there's this electric gas ball that seems to be producing light in this place. At this point, Harry's like, "Okay, we found this place. This is a big academic discovery. Surely we can go home now. We've risked our lives enough." And Hardwigg is like, "No, we have to get to the exact center of the earth." He's very steadfast in that. So they cross the vast sea, and they see something really cool. Is like they see an ichthyosaur and a plesiosaur do battle on the sea, and they fight it out. Luckily, the group is able to avoid that. They make it to the other side. They discover human bones, an ancient divergence of human. They also see a large human-like creature herding a herd of mastodons, but they make sure to avoid that because they don't know if it's going to be hostile or not. But they think it's a significant discovery. Hardwigg and Harry they hit a sort of wall area, and they can't really move any further, so they decide to blow up the wall. That creates an abyss that takes them that the vast sea empties into, and it slowly takes them up towards a volcano, which they are shot out of, and they end up in Italy. Um, After that, Hardwigg gains international acclaim for his discoveries, and Harry ends up marrying the love of his life. So that's a summary for uh, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Now, I was actually surprised to find that I didn't like this as much as Around the World in 80 Days. The biggest problem is for me, and I know it's not fair to compare the two because they're different books, and because Around the World in 80 Days was written years later, and Journey was like his third book, so different levels of experience there. But the biggest problem for me was the main characters, in terms of uh, comparing Phileas Fogg to Professor Hardwigg. Phileas Fogg, through the course of the book, learns that although the adventure is important, his friends are much more important, and he becomes a better person over the course of the book. Eventually, the bet doesn't matter to him. He seemingly thinks he loses by the end, but he still only cares about Passepartout and his lady friend that he meets along the way. Forgotten her name. Um, but Hardwigg is completely different. It's only the glory and the accolades that seem to matter to him. Any sacrifice is necessary on the pathway towards discovery. He tells Harry to suck it up and move on multiple times, and he doesn't seem to care about anyone but himself. I don't like that. Hardwigg is a terrible character. Hardwigg, like Hardwigg's desire only to see the glory, to see the adventure to the end. Like, you've discovered a vast land of inside the earth. You don't need to get to the center. You don't need to see the end of this. You've already found what you're looking for, and that's not enough for him. And it's played straight. You're not supposed to think Hardwigg is a bad character. You're supposed to think he's great, which I don't like. But maybe this message was normal for the Age of Discovery when Jules Verne was writing this. But I don't see it the same way. Like, it may have seemed normal then, but now it just makes him seem like an ass. So that was one problem with it. If my description of the plot seemed a little matter of factly to you, it's because it kind of was. Like, this story is just a description of facts, of things that happened. There's very little emotion besides Harry like saying I want to go home. Very little emotion um, put into this. I think that's one of the biggest problems with this is there's a little more emotion in Around the World in 80 Days, but there isn't any seemingly here, and it makes it feel a bit dry, in my opinion. I think the movie version with Brendan Fraser fixes this because it introduces, Brendan Fraser's always great. It introduces more personality, more emotion into the story. Admittedly, they have to completely work around the actual plot, but it does seem very interesting that the movie adaptation is able to do that, but the book isn't. Now, none of this is to say that there weren't parts that I liked. The best thing that Jules Verne can do that I've noticed in many of his books is inspire curiosity, inspire wonderment. The images that Verne describes, how they're going deeper into a volcano, or how a massive plesiosaur and an ichthyosaur battle, like, that's cool. Like, this area underneath the earth that he describes is so beautiful. I want to know more about this electric gas ball hanging in the sky. What's that deal? Like, Verne is great at doing that. Uh, it happened in Around the World in 80 Days too. I really enjoy when Verne takes to inspiring that curiosity. So that was a plus for me. Overall, I would have to say, despite its flaws, I would recommend reading it. It's important for its time, you know. Uh, if you can find it, go read it. Um, but if there are other Jules Verne's books available, perhaps seek them out. And I might try to find one of his later books. to see if he improves as an author or if like Around the World in 80 Days is an outlier. I hope to find that. If you read the book already and want to leave a comment, or you just want to say anything in general, yeah, go ahead and leave a comment. I will be happy to read that. Happy to have a discussion. In the meantime, enjoy your weird travels, and yeah, let's don't forget to talk to people about Hollow Earth theory.